Hi, how are you? We've been kindly invited by the great Barry Geraghty to his gorgeous farm here in County Meath, just for a quick chat. How are you, Barry?
Good, Gavin. Nice.
Yeah, good. I've only got to know Barry in the last couple of years due to the Coast to Cur cycle, and he's been very, very accommodating and all that, so great to have a chat. This stable here behind us is actually one of the stables that Constitution Hill was here many moons ago. You had him from what, a foal until he was 4, is that right?
Yeah, myself and Warren Young bought him as a foal, and he stayed here until he was nearly 4, broke and pre-trained, but he was stayed here a few nights and maybe some of the other stables. But we had him here. I broke him as a 2-year-old. We pre-trained him as a 2-year-old and as a 3-year-old, and we had 3 kids all over him at different stages as a 3-year-old as well, which is kind of unusual for a racehorse.
Yeah, he must have been a pet to be that quiet for the... At what age were the kids, like were they 8 or 10 at the time?
Yeah, it would have been 10, 9, 4 and probably 14.
The 4-year-old even sat up for a minute?
Oh yeah, but you could do what you want.
Really?
Yeah, I was...
In the arena, out the back?
In the arena, around the yard, anywhere you want to. You'd be strolling around.
Quiet as a lamb?
Quiet as a mouse, yeah.
As a mouse, yeah. Very good. He's an amazing horse. To go back through... I was looking through your list of winners, and we'll come to that in a few minutes. It's quite amazing. I suppose that one day that probably changed your life was that when your parents decided, when you were at the age of 10, to start up a riding school in Pelletstown, which is only 15 minutes from here. That must have been a big change.
Yeah, we rode ponies all the way through our childhood. We had a couple of old ponies over the years, but it would have been a bit stop-start if you like. But yeah, when my parents opened the riding school, sure straight away we'd 5 or 6 ponies, and within a year I'd say we'd a dozen, and 2 years we'd...
So you weren't fighting over ponies?
No, definitely not. So we'd constant supply, and sure, we were like any young lads at the age of 10 and 12 blitzing around the farm.
Racing each other, winning the Gold Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Watching the big race the Saturday, attacking the ponies, and out you go. And
were you kind of the child that when you came home from school you threw the bag there and went straight out? That sort of a... Yeah,
but you were out to work as well.
Yeah.
So like during the winter, I remember when there was no automatic drinkers and everything was watered.
Yes.
Buckets.
Stop, Barry. We can chat again. Just to go back to Pelletstown, I didn't realise until I did a bit of research is that your granddad actually bred Golden Miller, who won 5 Gold Cups in Pelletstown, where your parents still live.
Yeah, so that would have been our Clint Fenn's kids.
Really?
Yeah, he won 5 Gold Cups from 33 to 37.
You didn't see any of them live?
And no, I've only seen photos. He was second in 38, but no, he's the only horse that won the Gold Cup and the Grand National in 1 year.
Magic, isn't it? And your granddad bred him?
Yeah, bred him. And the mare died the following year.
And also, there's 6 in your family. I have them here: yourself, Ross, Norman, Sasha, Jill, and Holly. And I believe 5 of the 6 have won a race on the track. Is that right?
Yeah.
4 or 5?
Yeah, I know. I'd say 5. Yeah. I think Sasha was the only one who didn't.
Right. We won't say too much about Sasha. And also, there was a horse that I think 3 of you won a race on. What odds that your dad trained?
Yeah, he would have been homebred as well. What odds? Norm would have won a 100 chase, and I won the Irish National Trial on him. And I think Jill won another ladies race maybe.
Yeah, so fantastic history in your family. And then of course you went over to ride in the American Grand National 1 year and you let Ross win, did you?
Well, yeah, so second to Ross.
Second to Ross.
And yeah, which was great to be second. It was going to be second, it was delighted second to him anyway, so it was great. It
was on a horse for Gordon.
On a horse for Gordon, and he was on an ex-Nicky Henderson.
Yeah, I think you were on STL, was it?
STL is right, yeah.
I can't think of the one that he won on, but yeah.
Ex-Simon Manier, I think, or something, yeah.
And yourself and Ross, he won the Irish National as well as you?
He won the Irish National in the Bunny Boiler in 2002 or something.
And you won on Shut That Front Door
in 14.
Yeah, so great history amongst the family. Just to go back to your early career, you rode your first winner at 17. You became Irish champion jockey at 20. So that's an amazing achievement, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It happened for me quickly. But at the time, you're...
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You think it's normal?
Well, you do, because it was happening. Had a couple of small injuries before. Well, to divert me back before I was about 18. Actually, no, I did 2. I did around 17 and 18 as well, so I had injuries. But I was riding a good few for Noel. I would have been riding Jessies as well. Yeah, Paul had come back from England shortly after I got going, so he would have been riding Noel's then. So I think Jessie, Edward O'Grady, Tom Taff, general freelance though.
So then your relationship with Jesse kind of built as the years went on.
Yeah, I wrote my first winner for Jesse when I was 18 and won the Midlands National as an 18-year-old 5-pound claimer. So I go back with Jessie a long way as well. But yeah, she was brilliant and always really great.
Great to work with and to ride for.
We always got good, good relationship. Great to ride for, filled with confidence. Yeah, just everything was positive and go. So
Brilliant trainer, flat or national hunt, made no difference.
Exactly, yeah, which really proves her ability as a trainer because not everyone can do that, and to do it at the top level, you're winning, maybe staying handicaps on the flat is one thing, but to be winning classics, there's not many.
No, very few. In 2002 then, having been Irish champion jockey, to go to Cheltenham say in 2001 and then 2002 to ride your first Cheltenham winner on Moscow Flyer in the Arctic, that just must have been the day of a lifetime, wasn't it?
Oh, completely, and your first, people say what's your best winner at Cheltenham? Your first is your best, because that's the one, it's the holy grail, and everyone wants to win a race, no matter what it is, to get a winner at Cheltenham. And for me, it was in the Arctic on Moscow, who was a superstar, if you like, and proved it over the years after that. But to win one of those big ones as your first one, and second race, first day, it's you're straight into it.
Yeah, especially on the Tuesday, as you say. Did it live up to everything you'd expected? The walk down front of the stands, coming back in, the wave, all that stuff,
and more. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Euphoric, I'd say.
Oh, it's what you dream of. Your whole childhood, you're watching this, and you're afraid to dream that could you actually, get there to do this.
It'd be like scoring the winning goal for me than the All-Ireland final.
Yeah.
I know you love your Gaelic. The following year, then you won the Grand National in Monty's Pass. So if something could match or surpass, your first winner at Cheltenham, to go and win the Grand National at 23 is that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was flying. I had 5 winners in Cheltenham that year as well. It was only a 3-day meeting, and then 3 weeks later to go and win the Grand National. Sure, it was all happening, if you like, and yeah, sure, it was magic time.
Do you remember the race? Do you remember thinking crossing the Melling Road, geez, I'm tanking here, or what was your thoughts? A mile out, half a mile out, 2 out at the last. Do you remember some of the feelings you had, or the thoughts you had?
Oh, absolutely. I remember jumping the water. I think we landed in front nearly of the water jump when Barry Fenton's horse propped, and I landed in front to get him back because he had loads of pace, questioned about him staying, so it was all about wait, take your time. And I'm cantering the whole way then, and that's the only concern I had, was not to get involved. The moment for me was after jumping the third last. I had Barry in front of me, and I was sitting there absolutely cantering, 3 or 4 lengths down.
You think this is going too well?
And I can hear there's nothing with an earshot, and I'm just doing a half speed and thinking I'm on the verge of winning the biggest race in the world, and you can hear a pin drop, and it's just wait, just wait.
And when you have so much time, because it's a long run, say to 2 out, are you thinking, Jesus, don't fall at the second last, or are you getting any doubts in your head that this is going too easy or too well, or are you as confident as always?
No, well, with him especially, because he was absolutely bomb-proof.
Great jumper.
Early in that race, the 4th last fence, first time round, Jimmy Mangan had said to me that Paddy Kiley had advised him, tell Barry, don't be going for any long ones. I was probably that kind of lad to be always pressing the button now and again. So I went to the 4th last one circuit to go and spotted a really big long one. So here we go. And he stuck in a short string, tucked up, out over, and I was like, okay, this fella knows more about this than me. I'm just going to leave him be and school around. So he never touched a twig. So I was turning in. I was fairly sure he wasn't going to lay down on one of these. It was just a case of sit and wait and wait and wait, and not go for everything until you need to.
And the fences were full size back then, not like say they are now, do you know?
Yeah, it was harder, definitely. But that's where a horse like him, who excelled because it was all about jumping, he didn't get the trip in the Galway plate. So he was a doubtful stayer, but it was designed for speed horses, because if you could travel and jump and wait,
just sit in 3rd gear forever.
Just sit and wait. Yeah, so it was the National was more geared towards pace horses than maybe stayers like it is today.
Okay, that's interesting. I went through, some of the races you've won. You've won 43 races at Cheltenham, which is incredible. In 2009, you became the first jockey to win the big 5 races: Champion Hurdle, Champion Chase, Stayers Hurdle, the Gold Cup and the Grand National, which is a fantastic achievement. You won 5 champion chases, which we'll come back to in a minute, 4 champion hurdles, 2 gold cups, a Grand National, 2 stairs hurdles. We have to talk with champion chases. You won 2 of them in Moscow, 1 on Big Z, 1 on Finian's Rainbow, and just the 1 on Sprinter Sacre. Obviously the question that everybody always asks you, come on, today's the day, you're going to choose one of them. Come on, Moscow or Sprinter?
Couldn't split them.
It's like 2 children.
Like 2 children, or if you were to say Mead football, you'd say Moscow was Tommy Dowd and Sprinter was Graham Geraghty.
Okay.
Tommy rough and tumble, Graham All style.
Yeah.
Or if you're a soccer player, it'd be Wayne Rooney versus Thierry Henry.
Okay.
So, no, couldn't split them. 2 superstars. Moscow went 4 years unbeaten. That took something special.
And he was against Zerti up, and he was against Well Chief, you know.
He was very strong, but he would beat a 150 horse by 2 lengths with his ears pricked, and he beat Zerti up in 2014 in Creek and Well Chief 2 lengths, ears pricked. So how much he had in the tank, you don't know. Where Sprinter would give it all on the day. He beat Size in Europe 20 lengths, which was unbelievable.
He was a show off.
So you couldn't say visually he was more impressive.
He was an incredible jumper, wasn't he, Sprinter Sacre?
He was so natural. He was a class, and I never rode anything like him. Just to go at a fence, pick up, take off, land.
And he could take off the wings and still land well out the far side.
Yeah, he was unbelievable in that regard. But as I say, visually he was more impressive. But Moscow to go 4 years unbeaten, that took something special.
Yeah, no, incredible. Go back to the Tingle Creek for a sec. I remember you had a look around, was it? Was that either side of the pond fence, or am I dreaming?
No, I think so, yeah.
Do you remember the tactics in that race? What was your idea there?
So it went back to Senkos would be the pacemaker, and Moscow follow it along. Senkos would jump a little bit left. I planned, and like that, visualised all of this before I was ever heard of visualisation.
Yes.
But we were doing it without me knowing. But knowing Senkos would go like left, slip through over the railways, jump to the front, but pull up then, stack them up, because he had the class, but he would doss in front. So stack them up, Zerti was a strong trapper, get him up in the heels, and then wait for them, and have a look. And the look was to tell me, come on lads. But it was me, I needed company.
Yes.
So I wanted them to come at me earlier.
Right.
And it just helped Moscow, because he'd concentrate better with something breathing down his neck. Where if he was 3 lengths in front, he'd have one eye in the stands and 1 in the fence, and next to him on the floor.
Great thing to do with Ruby behind you.
Yeah, but that's faith in your horse. I knew I had, and Zerti, a very good horse, but he was well topped up, but I had complete faith in what I had.
Yeah, no, just an amazing horse, fantastic. There you're probably your 2 best, say 2 mile chasers, 2 fantastic horses. In terms of Gold Cup type horses, are we talking Bobsworth or Kicking King?
It's like they're
similar. As regards hard to split.
Yeah, and very different horses. Kicking King won 2 King Georges. Bobsworth wouldn't be found the King George.
No.
And he tried Kempton once, and won from too sharp. Kicking King was a very classy horse. Would have been very good ground that he won his Gold Cup. So he'd been questionable on slower ground, but a very classy horse. Bobsworth though won 3 festivals. Bartlett and RSA, Gold Cup, and they were very strong renewals, all 3.
Not the biggest horse.
Not the biggest horse, not the scopiest horse, but very accurate. And obviously had a great connection as well. So
absolutely, you had him from a foal?
Foal to a 4-7 brother. Norman bought him bought him a yearling, and Nicky bought him in Doncaster as a 4-year-old. He was unbroken, untried.
You certainly, you must be good at spotting them. Constitution Hill and Bobsworth, so 2 amazing horses to have as a young horse.
Yeah, and it's great how it worked out, and 2 very similar characters, if you like.
Really?
Oh yeah, just completely, very gentle, lovely horses, great manner. The kids weren't around for Bobsworth, but if they were, they'd have had fun with him. Yeah,
no, an amazing horse. In terms of hurdlers, then you won 4 champion hurdles. I suppose, which one of those would you possibly go for? Punjabi, Jeski, Bouverdare, Epatante for 4-year winners? Hard to split them.
Bouverdare probably does. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. He won 2 champion hurdles, and he fell in his 3rd. He won a lot of good races. Christmas hurdles, fighting 5th. He was rock solid. Aintree hurdles. He was a very, very good horse. Epatante was brilliant today. She won the champion hurdle. She'd just come to herself. She probably hasn't stepped on from that. Jeski was running in a vintage era as well then. He beat My Temple Yours and Hurricane Fly.
Yeah, true.
And he was beaten by Hurricane Fly a few times. more so in Leopardstown, I suppose. But that was a big scalp for him to take Hurricane Fly in the champion hurdle. So it's probably that was the strongest limit for him.
Okay. In terms of your best ride at Cheltenham, every Tuesday we try and throw up Throwback Tuesday, we call it, where we pick 12 of the best jockeys and pick maybe their best ride. I was thinking either Champion the RSA for you or Sire de Burley and the Pertemps. We were having a chat earlier, and you think that might be even one outside those two, which were brilliant rides. That maybe was your best.
Yeah, well, like Sire de Burley, I remember flat to the boards, working hard, and it was a bit like Ilse Teeter on the Ryanair. But you have no option but just keep shoving on the core and hope that he comes up trumps for you. Yeah. Whereas Champ, I didn't commit. I saved until I jumped the last and went. And it was probably very similar to Bobsworth in the Gold Cup. Outpaced on the run to 3 out. I'd say 6-7 lengths down, turn him in.
So you're sitting and you're not.
Well, you're nursing. You're
nursing, yeah.
So he was very similar to Champ. Like the RSA on Champ was magic how it worked out for me, obviously. Yes. And I felt for Rachel because I'd been caught in 20 on Native Darren Carter Hurdle, and Cheltenham only just recently did a tweet with the five unluckiest loser. Native Darren came in and won, and so I understood for Rachel, I fell for her, I really did, because there's nothing worse than being robbed.
Yes.
But the Gold Cup on Bobsworth, from 5 out, I'm flat to the boards. 6 out, actually I'm flat out, and I'm just nursing, waiting and saving. And a bit like the RSA, when Rachel and Paul Townley kicked on, AP and Sam Weddy-Cohen and Sir Deschamps and Long One kicked for touch, turning in.
And you didn't throw the kitchen sink at
waited again.
You waited.
He just wasn't ready to go. You're waiting for him to fill up.
Okay.
And when the spark comes, that's when there you go.
Jeez, you must have, great belief to do that, to not throw the kitchen sink, because, as punters we're watching, and we'd be probably saying to get stuck in, but you said you'd just wait another, say, furlong or whatever till he filled up.
You're working on instinct, and it's just knowing it's not even knowing your horse, it's knowing horses, and that's what works for me, and it mightn't work for everyone, but I would always be basing it on just waiting till he fills up. And when you start coming alive, then you can consider, and you might give a little squeeze and there's something there, but might be enough. You might have to wait again.
So just don't go too early like you did on the cycle coming out in Avon last year.
Exactly. Yeah, I was fairly green in that. So it's,
you learned this year.
Well, I did. Yeah, go a bit shorter.
One horse, just I don't know why I mentioned this one, but I remember being at Leopardstown, and I wanted to actually ask you the question: did you ride this horse in a bit of work? But we were all up there. We used to go to Leopardstown. Was it say 10 days before Cheltenham, and there was a bit of work after racing, and it used to be a big thing. You get a big crowd going there to watch them. And the next thing, we're all watching, and this grey comes up, and was the best I've ever seen at a horse at that bit of work. It absolutely bolted up. It was sky's the limit. Were you on it that day in Leopardstown?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, because I rode him in the car.
Yeah, and then he bolted up in the car. Yeah. But everybody that was there that day back sky's the limit because of the bit of work he did in Leopardstown.
Yeah,
do you remember him? He was a decent horse.
He was a very good horse. Yeah, everyone should have painted him a different colour that day. I've done something.
The grey, made him stand out. Yeah.
He was a smart horse. He really was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he was a decent horse. One other question I have for you is the golden generation of jockeys. I don't think we'll ever see the likes of it again. Is yourself, Ruby, Tony McCoy, Paul Carberry, and say Davy, Robbie Power, Richard Johnson, say 10 years ago or whatever period you want to pick. You certainly were around in some era of jockeys, weren't you?
Yeah, I'd say so, but you only know your own class, if you like, as in the class you're at school with.
Yeah.
And there is lots of good lads before us, Norman Williamson, Charlie Swan, Conor Dwyer, Richard and Woody, Adrian McGuire, brilliant. So they were our legends, and we would have learned from them. And like that, then you have coming behind you, Paul Townend, Harry Cobden, John Judd Jr., Jack Kennedy, some very good riders. And you might say maybe, they weren't as good as the previous generation, but by the time they get to their 30s, you'll find the good ones will be standing out at that point. So it's a bit like anything. It's like comparing Cotto and Arkin, but it was a vintage era.
Yeah, it was. Did you get on well with all the boys? Any rows? Any little?
No.
Anybody pin each other to the wall someday in the weigh room or anything? No.
No, we had a good, but I suppose we had a good level of respect for each other. Myself, Paul and I would sit together in Cheltenham, and you know, like, it would have been high stakes, but Paul would always keep the mood fairly
light-hearted.
Like, no one would be getting too down or no one would be getting too high.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was always a good atmosphere, but it's always easier when you're the winner on Tuesday.
Yeah, Paul lives down the road from here, and I always felt that you were quite good friends. Have you any Carberry stories for us, or are the two X-rated?
Yeah, we had good fun. We travelled together, you know, all over the country racing. We'd always be travelling together, and Davy Conlon with us as well, and Robert Powell. So we had good times. But then we travelled to England with Ruby as well, so we had good crack as well. And as I said earlier, we always get on well. But it was as much, although we had good fun together, it was a good level of respect.
Yes.
And you wouldn't cross the line. You know where the line is. You wouldn't cross it.
Yeah, no, there's some amazing jockeys. Tell me this: if, let's say, your parents didn't have the right in school when you were 10, and let's say you were never into horses, what do you think you could have been a personal sportsman or anything else, or?
Well, definitely no other sport.
No.
No, I don't play golf because I'm no good at it. I could never play football.
I was going to ask about Gaelic, because you do love Gaelic football.
I love it. But grew up in a great time with Meath football, and
same as me. Yeah.
You'd have to love it.
Who were your heroes back then?
Rick Lyons, Colin O'Rourke, you know, you move on then next, Tommy Dowd, Barry Geraghty, Trevor Giles, great players.
You know, fantastic times to be a Meath fan back then. Not that it is anymore, unfortunately.
We'll hope for it.
Yeah, I think Dublin and Kerry are going to be around for a good while yet.
Yeah, we'll still hope.
Barney, thanks very much for the chat. Really enjoyed it. You're certainly one of the greatest jockeys of all time, and it's great to have a look around at the stables that Constitution Hill and Bobsworth were in. So thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.